All right. So compression is the like baby of audio people. It's both the most difficult to get right for some people and also the most helpful. It can really make a sound um, coming from the stage and then out of the speakers just sound really punchy and clear. Or we can just really ruin things with compression, and that's what we see more often than not is something being completely over compressed. So we've looked at gate, we've looked at EQ, and we've looked at compression. Gating, um, as we talked about before, you set the threshold and then everything under that threshold is cut. Compression is going to do the opposite. So everything under the threshold stays. And so we can just get right into this with this snare loop. So you can see this yellow line, this handy dandy yellow line, is not getting anywhere close to the threshold. And so what that means to us is that this compressor is not doing anything right now. So this is the safe zone. We're not over compressing, but we're still not compressing, and maybe we want to compress. So this line, I mean, I can't tell you how helpful this is to have, because you can use your ears for sure, but also use your eyes as you look at this and follow that line for this channel. And so we're going to get close to the top of where that line is. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like to overcompress, and that'll give you a better idea of this. So we're going to squash this. Okay, so this is overcompression. Most of the actual snare sound is above the threshold, which means that this system, you can see this red, is compressing entirely this signal, minus a couple seconds of sound. If we bring the threshold all the way up, you can see that nothing's happening. The compressor's not active. So that red line on this bar over here is actually helpful to kind of show you how much we're actually compressing. So with something like a snare, compression is helpful because it can flatten out the spikes in something. So the really big portions of a sound, it can flatten those out a little bit and bring them closer to the softer ones. So where this is a good example is on acoustic guitar. Let's go look at the acoustic guitar really quick. So on acoustic guitar, sometimes it's going to be finger picking. Sometimes it's going to be some light strumming. Sometimes it's going to be full on strumming really hard. And so compression on an acoustic channel is really helpful because you can compress down those big portions, and you want it to still sound natural. And we'll talk about how to do that. You don't want to make it flat and just cut it out. But you want to bring some of those big giant portions down a little bit so that sonically to our ears, they're closer to the quieter portions. And that means that we can bring that fader up a little bit and the quieter portions can be louder. And then when we get to the big portions, they're not crazy loud. This is going to be the same thing for vocalists. So you can see here, this threshold is probably, for my singing, a little too low. So now this is completely uncompressed and you can hear the difference on the video. So if you bring it all the way down here, then that's just flat, which is not good. So probably right around here. So for any vocalist who's just sending, like just soaring on some really high parts, it's going to catch them a little bit. It's going to bring it down a notch. But then the quiet parts that are kind of in the speaking range come through really clear, really nice. You can hear them more than if you were just riding the fader and trying to bring it down when somebody's getting loud and then bring the fader back up. You can set this threshold and it kind of automatically does this. So those are some case scenarios. With the snare sound, what we want is we want the highest, the main hit. So you can pick a big song and you can listen to the snare. And if the drummer's hitting the snare pretty hard on a big song, then you can kind of pick that threshold and just bring it down into that yellow a little bit. So right about here. So if you listen to this track, they're not hitting the crap out of this snare, but they're also not playing it light. So we can kind of say that this is going to be about our threshold. So anything light that the drummer's doing during a quieter song is going to come through. Any light taps is going to come through really clear. But then if they hit it really, really hard, it's going to flatten this out a little bit and be really nice. So let's talk about ratio. Let's talk about how to make things natural. So to compress something, to overcompress something can mean two things. Either that you've squashed it with a threshold or you've squashed it with the ratio, and it sounds unnatural. So both of those, you can tell from your ear that it sounds unnatural. So to squash with a ratio, I mean, it's just so weak sounding. So the threshold's there, low as well, but that's a 100 to 1 ratio. So let's bring the ratio back to a little bit more normal scenario, and you can see what that's going to sound like. So as you can see, a 1.1 to 1 basically isn't going to do anything. And then the tighter you get on that curve, it's going to kind of help it out a little bit. So we don't want to go all the way 100 to 1. We don't want to be maybe this low because that's really not going to be doing much. So kind of 3.5, 4 to 1 is a little bit more natural sounding. And so if you look at this little, remember we talked about the blue line in a previous video. So this blue line that's over here that's moving, that's me moving the fader. So right now, that's the fader at unity. And that's the level of sound we're getting through. You bring the threshold all the way up here, you're getting a lot more. And so over compressing robs you of a pretty significant amount of sound, but a little bit of compression means that you can really push the fader more to get those quieter parts really coming through. And then you still won't have these crazy loud portions. So that's the threshold for compression, the ratio for compression, wanting that to sound natural. The knee is kind of a funny little thing. This is the knee. It looks like a knee on this blue line, and that's why they call it that. So the knee is a bony knee, a broken knee sort of thing. This is a basically no knee at all. And we don't really need to worry about this too much as long as we do not have it either at 0 or 5. As with everything else that we're doing, moderation, so 2 or 3, the knee is just going to, in that period of time, sonically, where the that snare signal is crossing the threshold of the compressor, that knee will either soften or harshen how the compressor processes that audio. And so a really, really sharp knee at 100 to 1 ratio sounds like this, where a really flabby knee at that compression kind of eases it in and eases it back out. Envelope over here does a similar thing with how quickly it attacks that signal, how long it holds the compression, and how long it takes to release that compression, and at what rate. And so we don't really, again, as with the gate, we don't really need to worry about the envelope too much. But as I said before, we don't want the knee to be at 0 or 5, so we can put that around. Let's put it at 2. Let's bring that threshold back up. Oh, we've got the ratio. So we're just kind of compressing down the top half of these bigger hits, and there will be bigger hits probably from a drummer than this on the snare, but it brings everything under a little bit more control for us.